China, a country the size of Europe, with every kind of landscape. Every kind of habitat, every kind of climate, and where animals of many different types rare, exquisite, and endangered live in unique ecosystems, in remote isolation, and alongside people. But today, both these habitats and the extraordinary species who live within them are increasingly faced with challenges. As people race to find solutions, to preserve China's wild beauty. The fabled grasslands of China. They carpet over a third of the country, with 4 million square kilometers of rolling prairie. Grasslands are so varied, you find them at contrasting altitudes and climates. "4,000 meters up on the Tibetan Plateau, Himalayan peaks overshadow fertile alpine pastures. In China's low-lying Great West, grasslands gradually give way to sand. In the north are the lush meadows and wetlands of Inner Mongolia. Each grassland has a nature that's diverse and distinct. But where the dramas of life, death, and survival play out each day and in every season. This is an ecosystem where wildlife shares its home with humans, nomads and farmers, and where the very grasslands that they all depend upon are now under threat. Springtime in eastern Inner Mongolia. The snows have melted and the new grass is beginning to grow. A flock of Demoiselle cranes are returning to their northern breeding ground. These Demoiselle cranes have endured one of the toughest migrations on Earth. They've flown 8,000 kilometers from India. They've crossed the mighty Himalayas and the high Tibetan Plateau, heading for these northern prairies. Having fended off hunger and attack from golden eagles, their journey is complete. finally, they land here, on the Guiyang grasslands of Inner Mongolia. Every year they return with just one purpose: to breed. Demoiselle cranes are one of the smallest crane species. Their black head sports 2 white stripes made up of longer plumes, and a grey beak with an orange tip. The cranes arrive in large flocks, but as soon as they touch down, they disperse quickly into couples. And the males begin showing aggressive and territorial behaviour to those who were previously their flying companions. This male and female are monogamous and will stay together for life. This couple quickly get on with the matter of looking for a suitable place to lay eggs, their beady red eyes seeking out the perfect spot. She can lay eggs every spring, and here, directly onto the ground, she lays 2. She positions them in an exposed patch of short grass and under the full glare of the morning sunshine, hopeful that at least one of her 2 embryos will survive. And now she waits. It will be 30 days before their chicks hatch. But there's one big disadvantage to laying eggs directly on the ground. They make easy pickings for predators. The cranes keep watch 24 hours a day for 30 long days. While the female sits on her eggs, the male chooses a vantage point to keep watch. As the fox gets closer, the birds alert each other to the danger with sharp warning cries. This time they're lucky, and the fox moves off. He's set his sights on easier prey, a lone piker. He sets an ambush, lying low to conceal himself within the long grass. Defenseless and alone, the prey is helpless. And this solitary hunter's victorious return is greeted with excitement back at his den. The Demoiselle crane is free once more to tend her eggs, turning them to ensure that each side gets equally warmed under the golden sunshine. The egg's colour will darken as the day of the chick's hatching gets closer. When it's chilly, she keeps them warm under her wings for a day or 2. When night falls, they take turns to sit on their offspring, brooding. A constant temperature is needed for the embryos to develop, and both the male and female incubate their eggs, trading places every 2 hours, through good weather and bad. As our crane couple devotedly protect their eggs in Inner Mongolia, 3,500 kilometres southwest, spring comes to these highland prairies a little later in the year. This is the Tibetan Plateau, also grassland. But unlike the home of the cranes, this high-altitude grassland is 4,000 metres up and much colder. Every season is harsh, with frequent strong winds. Humans move across this area with their flocks of sheep and yaks. They share the plateau with wildlife of all kinds. All have developed in their different ways to life on these very high grasslands, even thriving. Yaks have been living here for hundreds of thousands of years, since the species separated from lowland cattle. These half-ton beasts have adapted to this tough environment. Wild yaks share their physiological adaptation to the cold and altitude with their domestic cousins. In winter here, temperatures drop to -40 degrees Celsius, and yaks can lose up to 30% of their body weight. A thick coat insulates them from the cold. But their real evolutionary genius lies beneath the wool, with their organs. They have extra-large lungs that have evolved over millennia to capture as much oxygen as possible at this high altitude, where the air contains less oxygen than at sea level. And their very large hearts increase the volume and rate at which the oxygenated blood can be pumped around their bodies. It's an April morning. A manul couple emerge from the rocks they live in. They have the thickest fur of all cats, which serves as good protection from frostbite in this extreme landscape. And their short limbs and especially small ears combat the high winds that frequently whip this prairie. The familiar grassland chorus has awoken some Tibetan fox cub siblings, emerging from their home for the first time. They're now about 4 weeks old and have spent the first month of their lives in their underground den, being suckled by their mother. And so now they're finally ready to see what the grasslands have to offer, and are taking the opportunity to explore while their mother, the vixen, is hunting. But they are unaccustomed to life on the outside, and for now too cautious to wander far from the entrance to their den. This cub will be entirely dependent on his mother for the first 10 months of his life. He retreats back to wait for her return with breakfast. A plucky piker emerges from his burrow. Small and seemingly insignificant, these mammals, most closely related to the rabbit, help maintain the whole ecosystem high up on this prairie. It rarely rains on the Tibetan plateau, but when it does, the rains are fierce and heavy. In such dry, cold terrain, flash floods could devastate the environment, sliding over the impervious land without any absorption. But the millions of pika who live here have created an underground network of burrows that effectively act as sponges, absorbing the water. Despite holding together the very ecology of the plateau, life for the pika on the grasslands is treacherous. They're near the very bottom of the food chain, as the main source of food for multiple predators. Their round bodies look like a tempting treat. With the females giving birth to up to 13 young, sometimes 5 times a year, there are more than enough to feed the demand. These pikers' play fight attracts attention. Two steppe eagles take flight. And circle threateningly overhead. They use minimal wing flapping, instead riding on thermals and updrafts created by the landscape. Their young, just days old, wait with anticipation back in their nest. Usually for the first 2 weeks, only the father hunts, but these chicks are hungry, feeding around every couple of hours, so both parents are out, scouring the grasslands below. And they're ready to dive at speeds of up to 200 kilometers an hour if they spot a catch. But the mother won't stay away from her nest for long, as her bright white eaglets are now exposed to their own predators. Other raptors intent on feeding their own precious young. They will stay in this nest for 60 days. And over the course of 3 months will grow the feathers needed for flight, 7,000 of them, slowly transforming their bodies from white down to the light brown of their parents. Their feathers, talons and beak will grow throughout their entire life. Their mother hasn't managed to catch anything or find any carcass, and returns to the nest empty-handed. But she's got another important job to do. The sun has nearly reached its height and could harm her young chicks. So she makes a shade out of her broad wings. The female steppe eagle is larger than her mate, with a 2-meter wide wingspan, ample space for her chicks. Her layers of feathers can also trap air to insulate the chicks against the cold wind. To keep up its strength and to stay warm and protected in low temperatures, this piker will eat 50% of its body weight in food each day. He even eats his fecal matter, storing it in his burrows, a second chance to absorb the nutrients. But such constant consumption means exposing himself to dangers while foraging. This ambitious fox cub spots something rustling and is drawn out by curiosity. Piker employ lookouts to ensure good odds for survival. The lookout sends a warning signal, a distinct high-pitched cry that says danger is imminent. He is one of several pikers positioned on raised mounds, keeping watch over the wide expanse of grasslands while their friends risk their lives to collect food. Never straying more than 20 meters from his burrow, the race is on to get underground. And this time, he makes it back safely and hurries to the depth of his burrow so as to avoid the digging claws of the desperate fox. A single interconnected burrow can have 5 access holes, so the pika are able to escape predators against the odds. While one cub practices hunting, without success this time, one of his brothers explores another intriguing find, common on the plateau: yak dung. Miraculously, despite living under the threat of danger all around, this pika has a life expectancy of 7 years. In part due to an unlikely partnership. While the pika's enemies are numerous, it has found an ally in the snowfinch. A non-migratory high-altitude bird with an elaborate mating dance that resembles a display fight. The male and female circle around each other, hopping with slow fluttering wings. The male leads, with the female mimicking his every move. Mating partners are decided upon based on this dance. And another male contender steps up. This ritual takes place between May and August, after which the female lays up to 5 eggs. But the permafrost on the plateau means that there are no trees for them to make nests in. And unable to fly more than 10 meters, their options are limited. Birds lay eggs in nests to isolate them and the hatched fledglings from ground-level predators. But as snowfinches can't build nests in trees, they found a smart solution. Go underground. They make their nests and lay their eggs among the pika in their underground burrows. It's a system that suits them both. The snowfinches get a safe place for their chicks, and the pika get more sets of eyes on the lookout for predators. For the snowfinches share many enemies with the pika. Predators intent on taking eggs from their underground nests. The pika has evaded fox and buzzard, but her success is another's loss. buzzards here have found a different solution to the lack of trees for their nests. They lay their eggs and raise their young in crevices, high on cliff faces. An upland buzzard returns from hunting, clasping food in her talons. Not a piker this time, but a rodent. And then heads straight back out hunting. Her strongest devours the rat in one go, while her youngest is still waiting for its turn. Their mother can store food for several hours in her enlarged esophagus, known as a crop. After hatching, the young are unable to fly for the first 2 months of life and stay in the nest, a substantial 1 metre diameter structure of branches and twigs lined with vegetation that their mother adds to every day until the chicks leave the nest. She's also used man-made materials like plastic and cotton rags that she's found to build her nest. While the mother is out hunting, her chicks undertake the essential first step in learning to fly. They already have most of their flight feathers, with just some soft down remaining, and are soon due to fly the nest at 45 days old. They practice the art of balance, their feathers aligned for flight as gusts of wind catch under their wings. They only get one chance at their first flight, which will have to wait for a few more weeks. And until then, they are dependent on their mother and happy to have their food delivered. Wildlife and domesticated herds live side by side up here on the high grasslands. Even though it's spring, a sudden drop in temperature is making life even tougher for everyone. For pika, and for the herders who have for centuries wandered this land, searching for the finest grass to graze their flocks on. The air in this region is always in motion. Snow can cover the plateau here for 7 months of the year, and this snowfall is beginning to settle. As temperatures plummet, a nomad races against the clock to ensure her flock have enough food throughout the cold spell. Lodan is a nomadic herder. Famed for producing the best sheep in China. She herds Tibetan sheep, a hardy breed that can endure the bad weather. She rears them for their meat, but also for their wool. It's the lambing season, and Lodan can't let these late snows affect her animals' well-being. She covers the ground with grass to prevent a frost and ensure some food for her flock. As the snow persists, the first lambs are being born at sub-zero temperatures. But Tibetan sheep are tough, and combined with the nomads' expertise in caring for them and rearing them, most will survive to taste their first bites of grass. Early summer on the grasslands of Inner Mongolia is a far more hospitable environment. The pair of Demoiselle cranes have tirelessly cared for their eggs, and now, after 30 long days, protecting and warming them, something has changed. The female calls to her partner, not with an alarm cry, but one that suggests excitement. All of their efforts have now paid off. The shell cracks and her first chick begins to hatch, pecking its way out using its egg tooth, a small sharp protrusion on the tip of its beak that will fall off after birth. The first infant crane, or colt, prizes itself out of the egg. And later, its sibling arrives too. Once they've acclimatized to life on the outside, their training begins. In 3 months, they will migrate south for the winter. And before then, they need to acquire many skills. But for now, they practice the basics, like walking and running. Cranes typically run into the wind to achieve the lift necessary for flight. It will be 2 months before their wing feathers are developed enough to take off. So until then, they're firmly rooted to the ground. Infant cranes, colts, aren't born with distinctively long legs. These come with age. So keeping up with their parents is a tiring business. This morning, they're looking for food. Their beaks have evolved to be long enough to dig out worms from below the surface, down amongst the tough roots of the grass. A bit of competition is needed to get the colts moving. Who can get the worm first? She feeds them directly from her beak to theirs. Sibling rivalry can be a great motivator. Demoiselle cranes eat a varied diet, from small rodents and amphibians to insects and plants. They're opportunistic feeders and change their diet according to the season and their own nutritional needs. The fledglings can now flaunt their long necks, varying the sound of the cries they make and increasing their communication skills by lengthening and positioning their trachea. They occasionally flutter their wings, now coated in a soft down. They're yet to develop the feathers needed for flight. When the summer ends, they will embark on an epic journey south to India. A 5,000-kilometre-long migration to warmer winter weather. This will be the last journey the colts will make with their parents. Once they reach India, the family will separate. The parents will stick together, but the colts will be on their own and will have to fend for themselves. So for now, they all enjoy a little family time. As the day draws to a close, the mother lovingly tucks her chicks under her wings. It's high summer on the grasslands of central Mongolia, and temperatures soar well into the 30s. Here in the Hunshan Desert, the rising of the Gaoga-Sutai River has created a unique and magical habitat. An oasis of shimmering blue and green surrounded by the yellow-brown of the sand. Local people have come to call it the Desert Garden. This unique area with deep pools of water is rich in wading bird life. Statue-like herons loom above the water, waiting to pounce on a passing fish. White spoonbills patrol the shores. They feed with elegant sideward sweeps. Crushing crustaceans in their powerful bills. A black-winged stilt creeps about in the shallow water. This one's red legs show that it has reached maturity. In recent years, the number of birds in the desert garden has increased dramatically. But the reason for this sudden increase in bird numbers is sinister. "10 kilometers away is Major Chaganor. Once there was a lake here with a diverse ecosystem, but now, after years of drought and water evaporation, all that remains is the white expanse of the salt flats. The wading birds may have found water elsewhere and fled to the desert garden and other regions of Inner Mongolia's grasslands. But for the nomads who call this region home, the disappearance of the lake is a major problem. Narangawan's 300-strong flock needs water and a prairie to graze on. Both now are in very short supply. But even more worryingly, the grass in this grassland is struggling to survive. And without its long sheaves of grass acting as a barrier to wind-blown sand, what is left of this grassland is being consumed by desert. Finding a meadow to pitch a yurt and feed the flock is becoming very hard. And so these herders are taking action. They're trying to reverse the desertification that they see all around them, to save their traditions and livestock. The natural order dictates that as the survival of some creatures is threatened by changing habitat and they're pushed out or die off, others step in and thrive. With the emergence of this hostile environment, the desert lizard is king. Its densely overlapping scales reduce water evaporation. Air flows through its lungs in just one direction, most efficiently extracting oxygen from the air. And the desert lizard can also adapt its colour to become lighter as temperatures rise. It reflects more sunlight, and so keeps it cooler. This amphibian is relishing the changing landscape and is fast colonising this desert, breeding at a great rate. But if Naran is successful, this failing grassland will not turn entirely to desert. The salt flat will transform to provide the nomads with the green meadows they rely upon for their livelihoods. And they believe the solution to their problems are these. Plants native to coastal marshes, able to survive even in the most extreme environments, capable of growing even on these salt flats and in the desert, where there is little moisture in the soil. Every year between spring and summer, they plant thousands of seeds across former grassland. And their efforts are beginning to bear fruit. Last summer, this field was barren. Through transplanting non-native plants to this land, the inhabitants can now imagine a future. With the very food that their sheep eat also acting as a barrier to sand blowing down from the desert. In China's grasslands, and the rich variety of chicks born into this vast ecosystem are now fledged. The young buzzards on the Tibetan plateau strut on their grasslands. Their white markings and feather tips are a reminder that they are still young. Now able to extend their wings 2 meters wide as they take up their position in the sky. In Inner Mongolia, the Demoiselle crane colts are now fully fledged. Soon they will embark on their mighty 5-week flight to India. Migration brings out the sociable side of the crane. And the solitary family of 4 joins up with other families until a group of 200 or more has been formed. And it's finally time to bid farewell to the plains where they were hatched and raised. They test the air currents and wind direction. They wait for the sun to be in the right position. They watch for the all clear. And they are off. Flying in a V formation, they will take turns to lead the flock. As this is their first flight, on this journey the young cranes will not take a turn at the helm. Their parents will. Using their inbuilt navigation system and knowledge of the rivers and valleys below, they fly at an altitude of up to 8,000 meters as they pass over mountain ranges. Each bird positioning itself on the wingtip of another to reduce the headwind. They fly as all cranes do, with their necks and legs extended in a perfect straight line, matching the rhythm of their wing beats to perfectly benefit from one another's updraft. The grasslands. An area of China as varied in landscapes as it is in species. Everyone dependent on the grass for food, cover, and livelihood. Some permanent inhabitants, others seasonal visitors. Where the smallest creatures maintain the ecosystem, and the largest beasts adapt to the harsh climate. A land of stunning beauty, ever-changing. From season to season, and stretching unbroken to the horizon. The city is an ever-evolving ecosystem. Made by man to meet our every need. And nowhere on our planet has such rapid and widespread urban development ever been seen as here and now in China. Millions of people vie for a piece of space. in cities where infrastructure is shaped by tradition, landscape, and business. But we were not the original inhabitants of this land. While vertical cities grow ever taller and people live in more densely packed quarters, the natural world all around us, at ground level and amongst the towering skyscrapers, is fighting for survival, searching for a plot, some space to live and breed. Full of dramas and relationships, adapting to their ever-changing habitat, evolving new collective behaviours, while living side by side with us in a relationship that is sometimes harmonious and at other times frustrating. Beijing, China's ancient and modern capital. This city's construction began more than 3,000 years ago. And it is home to some of China's most iconic landmarks. Here at the Temple of Heaven, emperors came for centuries to ask their gods for abundant harvests. These days, it's a favourite place for locals of all ages to stroll and take exercise. Every day from dawn to dusk, it's bustling with visitors. But what few of them realise is that just metres from where they are relaxing, intense dramas of life and survival are going on amongst the full-time residents of the park. The summer is coming to an end in the lush gardens of the Temple of Heaven. Some of the most energetic inhabitants are hoping that these auspicious grounds still promise ample food. This frisky Eurasian red squirrel is already preparing for the onset of Beijing's bitter winter, when temperatures can drop to -15 degrees Celsius. Unlike other small mammals, he won't hibernate during the cold spell, and so needs to begin to store up supplies now when food is plentiful. He also increases his food intake so as to put on weight for insulation. 80% of his waking life is spent foraging for food. The coat of this red squirrel varies in colour depending on the time of year and his location. The underside is always cream, but the remainder of this red squirrel's coat is in fact brown and black. The darker shade is camouflage, helping him blend in with the dark soil and tree trunks. He sheds his fur twice a year and is currently modelling his thinner summer coat. Success comes quickly. He's found a walnut. But before he can stash his bounty in a tree crevice known as a larder, an intruder disturbs him. Oblivious to the squirrel's mission, this child wants a closer look at the rodent. The squirrel, assuming the child wants his nut, hastily buries it. And runs for cover. The coast is clear, and he retrieves the nut. In just seconds, he unlocks it from the casing using his 4 sharp front teeth. His teeth will grow throughout his life to ensure that they don't wear down to nubs from gnawing on hard nuts. He hides his nut in pre-dug shallow pits called middens. He needs to cover it well with leaves, as a well-known thief is on the prowl, a magpie, and he likes nuts. But magpies have also been known to eat small mammals. So after concealing his walnut, the squirrel also makes himself scarce. Summer is the rainy season in Beijing. And a sudden downpour brings out a host of creatures. But heading out into the open can be a risky business. The common sparrow, a social bird with a strong sense of community. This scout has been sent to find food and sends word back. Petite in stature, the sparrow's strength lies in their numbers. But they are timid birds and quickly give up their hunting ground when they hear a hoopoe approach. So named because of its distinctive call. She is a solitary forager feeding on the ground, using her sharp beak to dig through the vegetation for the bugs that have come out in the rain. This iconic bird is depicted throughout history in art, adorning the walls of ancient Egyptian temples. Our fascination is perhaps sparked by her fan-like crest, which she raises when excited. Nestled in the long grass, a solitary hedgehog is awoken by the rain. And a certain scent. His attention quickly turns to dinner. He hoists himself out of his den, a small hollow he's dug in the grass. While his senses generally work best at night, some hedgehogs, like this male boar, adapt to early evening activity. With poor eyesight, he relies on smell and sound. He can even detect insects 7 centimeters underground. And he has caught a scent. As he meanders through the grass, sniffing for worms, he lets out a pig-like grunt, hence the hog in his name, hedgehog. He's hot on the trail of a juicy earthworm. Because of their appetite for insects, hedgehogs are a powerful form of pest control, and gardeners throughout this city love them. With the worm in his mouth, the hedgehog now begins a curious ritual which still mystifies experts. It's called self-anointing. The hedgehog mixes the worm meat with saliva to form a scented broth. Then he pastes the froth over himself, licking as many of his 7,000 spines as he can reach. A pleasant perfume? A camouflage? Or a form of protection? The purpose of this act is entirely unknown and remains the hedgehog's secret. And with the self-anointing complete, he returns for second helpings. Whilst his wild instincts are still strong, this hedgehog has learned to adapt his behaviour to make the best of life amongst urbanites. And he's seen an opportunity. Sprinting off at a sprightly 5 kilometres an hour. As well as its wild creatures, the Temple of Heaven is also home to domesticated animals. Cats. It's getting towards the end of the day, and the cats are gathering, alerted by a familiar sound. It's their favourite time of the day. Despite the fact the cats are living in this public park, free to roam its grounds and catch their own food, they also get regular meals. Though the food is intended for the cats, the hedgehog is also attracted by the smell. He bides his time. He must wait for night to fall and for the cats to leave. It's a long wait. He approaches cautiously through the long grass. And at last, patience is rewarded. He gets what he's been waiting for. Living amongst people and their domestic pets can have its advantages. And access to plentiful food scraps and cat food has not led this hedgehog to deviate from his nature. Research has found that despite having a year-round supply of food, the urban hedgehog still hibernates for 6 months of the year. The same amount of time as its rural relatives, whose prolonged sleep is timed with seasonal food shortages. But tonight, well fed, he now has the energy needed for the night, when he will trawl his territory, a 3-kilometre range, searching for females. (2,200 kilometres southwest of Beijing), the sprawling city of Guiyang stands out in sharp contrast to the karst scenery it jostles against. The limestone geology here is made up of the bones of sea creatures, formed 270 million years ago, when this region was the bottom of a warm tropical sea. And here, nature and man truly live side by side. In the wetlands not far from the city centre, it's mating season for the many birds who call this stretch of water their permanent home. These ample waterways are runoff from the Pearl River, and they've helped this city flourish, bringing humans and animals much needed fresh water. These wetlands are like nature's kidneys. They purify the water. They also protect the city from floods and the land from drought. And they cool air down when it's very hot in summer. An egret on the banks of the river patrols the water's edge. He chooses only to live where there is fresh water and clean air. Egrets have thrived in these lush surroundings for thousands of years. The crystal-clear waters contain plenty of fish and amphibians for him. He snares them with a death blow delivered by a quick thrust of his sharp bill, and flies off with his catch, which he'll swallow whole. But this prize hunting ground is much coveted, and he's drawn unwelcome attention. Other egrets are trying to move into his territory, and some even challenge him for the spot. And soaring above the wetlands, Guiyang's karst peaks are also home to a population thriving off the rich supply of natural resources. The rhesus macaques. After humans, they are the world's most numerous and ecologically widespread primates. They're experts at surviving and multiplying. And they share much in common with their human cousins. Their behaviour is shaped by intense competition. Rhesus macaques live in complex societies. The troop is ruled by a single dominant male. You can see which is the alpha in this troop. He's the biggest and most aggressive of the males. He uses intimidation to get his way. and secure for himself the safest sleeping spots, the best food, and access to the fertile females in the group. Intriguingly, his family of macaques is thriving in close quarters to another species of primate, humans. And he's figured out that there's no better place around to socialise with people than here, on the sacred Qianling mountain, a favourite tourist spot. It's Chinese New Year, and 100,000 Guiyang residents come in pilgrimage up this mountain. They gather firewood in the belief that this act will bring them good fortune and wealth. They offer thanks at the Zen Buddhist Hongfu temple. But the star attraction are the king monkey's macaques. And they know how to work the crowds. They prosper on this mountain because of man, choosing to live in close proximity to the city's tourists. And no day is more lucrative for the monkeys of Qianling Mountain than today. They hope to feast and enjoy the New Year celebrations as much as the next man. The troop leader, like all macaques, has specialised pouch-like cheeks to ensure that all the excess food he's given or grabs won't go to waste. Nowadays, the majority of his food intake comes from visitors. And there are concerns that through this coexistence, he and the troop he leads could be losing their foraging and gathering skills. Most feed the macaques responsibly: fruit, nuts. Their regular diet in the wild. And this urbanisation of a species with regular access to a food supply has allowed this population of macaques to expand from 30 to over 600 inhabiting these mountains today. While they might have changed their feeding habits, at the end of the day, when the visitors descend the mountain for the bright lights of the city, the alpha male leads his troop away from the tourist spot and retreats back to his treetop canopy, back to his own society. Monkey intelligence has long been studied. But the abilities of some less exotic city-dwelling animals are now also gaining attention. It's winter in Beijing, and temperatures can drop to -15 degrees Celsius. As people retreat home, other species are flocking into the city. The squawk of carrion crows circling overhead drowns out the city sounds. With a 1-metre wingspan, they glide effortlessly over the skyline. Carrion crows are usually solitary, but they become sociable in winter when they congregate en masse in communal sleeping groups or roosts. "12,000 are expected to arrive in Beijing this year. Descending on this small patch of the city and roosting on just a couple of poplar trees. And experts at Cambridge University in the UK believe that the size of their roost is indication of their intelligence. Group living is a complicated business. For members to thrive or stand out from the crowd, they need to understand how to work alongside or manipulate their community. Highly social creatures like dolphins, chimps and humans display great intelligence. And now the same can be said of carrion crows, who experts have found to have unusually large brains for their size. This is a spectacularly large roost. And it's not without its problems for the residents of Beijing, who have to tread a little carefully when walking beneath these trees in winter. The roost first moved into the city 20 years ago. Carrion crows are typically birds found in farm and grassland. But experts think they've moved into Beijing to take advantage of a phenomenon known to scientists as the urban heat island effect. There are 20 million people in Beijing, and the cars, air conditioners and other machines used in this developed city give off heat. And the very concrete and construction materials used to build the city absorb and retain more heat than the soil and vegetation in the countryside. It means the temperature in Beijing is on average 3 degrees higher than surrounding countryside. And it might explain why carrion crows find life in the city so appealing. Artificial light also helps the crows keep watch for their main predator, owls. They choose to perch on the very top of the tree or bare branches. These offer them a great vantage point. If they come under attack, they can alert the entire roost, with 3 or 4 warning cries in quick succession. And then they take to the skies. It's an icy winter's morning in Beijing. In a city park, many different kinds of birds are on the water. But one determined crow, with a loyal crew in tow, has headed straight for the ice. He is not trying to break through, but is resourceful and cleverly uses the hard surface of the ice to sharpen his beak. But these busy crows need to take care. There are predators in the park too. With a now razor-sharp beak, this opportunistic scavenger has a new lease of confidence and has seen a kestrel enjoying a mouse. And he wants it too. Communicating his plan to his companions, who rally around to support him in the quest. They're versatile and will eat anything they can find, plant or meat, and they're seemingly fearless. Utilising the strong network forged in the roost, the lead scavenger instructs the others to take on the bird of prey. 4 against 1. The kestrel clings on to the mouse, clasping it tightly in his talons. And the group of crows eventually concede defeat. But our tenacious crow has a better idea. Why scavenge when he knows of a permanent source of food? So he redirects the group to Beijing Zoo. The zoo is a microcosm of the world, with numerous habitats and a variety of the Earth's ecosystems. The crows are spoilt for choice with where to land. Their arrival coincides perfectly with feeding time, where they get to sample various cuisines. Sneaking into an unattended trough, the group enjoy the African grains in the zebra's feed. Until they're welcome no more. And move on to the mites and bugs, living on the deer's antlers. Much to the host's annoyance. An hour before the sun sets, as the temperature begins to drop, our crows head back to the heart of the city, where it's warmest. They are at their noisiest now, circling the skies and regrouping with their flock. Owls wake up just as these crows are heading to their roosts. While our crow and his fellows are flourishing and adapting well to life in the city, their main predator, the long-eared owl, is not faring so well. With diminishing woodland, their natural habitat, owls have ventured into Beijing. These nocturnal creatures are attracted to the food chain in the city, There's always something to eat here. But once here, they're experiencing a degree of culture shock. In such a dynamic city, it's difficult to find a quiet spot to sleep by day. And neon streetlights make stealth-like hunting difficult. The urban owl, shy and reserved, is seeking help from the city's people. As creators of cityscapes and host to its wildlife, people have a responsibility to protect these unlikely inhabitants. Here at the Raptor Centre in Beijing, they monitor the city's wild owls, kestrels and buzzards, bringing in any that need a little help in adapting to their unnatural surroundings. This owl was found with broken wing feathers. An owl's wing feathers are uniquely designed. Serrated like a comb to break down turbulence, their flight is entirely silent. And this is how, by stealth, they sneak up and capture prey. A kestrel is also brought in. They're sharpening his beak. His beak is short, curved, downward-facing and hooked at the end, specifically for gripping and tearing prey. In the wild, birds of prey like this owl sharpen their beaks through crunching the bones of the moles and voles that are their chief food. But in the city, they've been found eating soft, filleted leftovers with no beneficial effect on their beaks, which means they can get overgrown. After several weeks of rehabilitation, this owl is finally due for release. The team drive to the countryside 10 kilometers outside of the city.
后面就是山，前面就开矿，我觉得就挺好，就不给它放地上。
This is the owl's natural environment. Tonight, the owl will try his luck, once more hunting in the wild. But hopefully he won't find himself drawn back to the bright lights of the city, scavenging for easy food. Nanjing, on the eastern side of China, 200 kilometers northwest of Shanghai. Along the mighty Yangtze River, once China's ancient capital. Throughout their history, the people of Nanjing have paid respect to the environment and integrated it within their city. And nowhere in Nanjing is nature more cherished than on Purple Mountain. It's thick with trees and home to over 600 plant species. One creature found deep in the forest on Purple Mountain is unable to tolerate any man-made light, needing total darkness for a nightly spectacle on which the survival of its species depends. Dusk is approaching, and people are flocking to Purple Mountain to behold an awesome sight. Fireflies. Winged beetles, sending out messages of love. Fireflies depend on their own light to reproduce. They emit the light from their abdomen, created through a chemical reaction inside their bodies. And reproduction is their sole purpose in life, living only long enough to mate and lay larvae. They have a variety of ways to communicate with mates in courtship. Steady glows, flashing. To the naked eye, the difference between a male and female firefly's light is indistinguishable. But the fireflies are familiar with every subtle difference in the tone, length, rhythm of the streak of light. Male fireflies light up to signal their desire for mates, and willing females, fluent in this coded language, respond to the males with flashes of their own. It seems that female fireflies like a male with a more intense light, and one that flashes faster. But some experts believe that cunning male fireflies can imitate the flashing response of a disinterested female firefly, that way reducing competition. Around the world, firefly numbers are decreasing, as cities encroach on forests. And light pollution reduces the firefly's ability and will to flare up as frequently, which reduces their chance of reproducing. But here in Nanjing, the population is thriving. Thanks to respect and positive coexistence. At night, Purple Mountain is pitch black, with only minimal lighting guiding tourists up the slopes. Purple Mountain is a piece of wildness Nanjing City has preserved for itself. With a rich history in the arts, the integration of nature within Nanjing serves as a reminder of a time when Chinese poets and artists lived in total harmony with wildlife and drew inspiration from the natural world. It's a permanent reminder of the exquisite beauty and wonder of nature that can still be ours to appreciate in these modern times, even as cities expand. And now other cities are also following Nanjing's lead. Chongqing is southwest China's largest city, embedded in the green rolling hills along the Yangtze River. Efforts to protect the extraordinary Ficus virens tree from damage caused by construction are more than simply a green initiative. These bizarre but cherished trees in Chongqing are an integral part of the city's history, and now too of its very structural foundations. Here, nature and the city are totally inseparable. this fig tree's roots are stubbornly attached to the city walls, and they run 20 meters below the city. If this tree were to die, removing it would bring down parts of the city. Built on barren limestone karst terrain, the tree's roots explore every method possible to absorb the moisture they need for survival. Their entangled, interwoven roots squeeze desperately into tiny rock cracks, while the external roots absorb moisture directly from the air, like a sponge. The fact that the trees can thrive under these unusual conditions and grow so tall, towering 20 meters above the street to monopolize this limited light, is testament to how tenacious and resourceful living things can be. The city, built by humans, for humans, but now home to creatures of all kinds. From tiny insects to our close monkey cousins. The city is a shared space where all life must find a way to survive and prosper. Every day in our cities, we see evidence of nature's vitality and its ingenuity, where creatures, domesticated and wild, live side by side with us. As neighbours in this complex and interconnected world, we influence each other in ways we cannot predict. In the vibrant concrete habitat that is the modern city, many people feel they have a duty to the creatures that they live alongside, offering a helping hand in unfamiliar environments and giving others the space they need to thrive. Everywhere in the modern city, people, entranced by nature's brilliant diversity, are drawn to protect and care for all the creatures of the wild.